My name is Sterling Sanders, and I am the Assistant Director for Technical Support Services with the Information Technology Department for Valdosta State University. I'm responsible for the maintenance, design, and upkeep of the technology within the classroom, lab, and office environments. And I'm joined by my colleague.
My name is Benjamin Lee. Good morning, everyone. Thank you all for joining us, especially this early in the morning. I think I had to have 2 coffees to be here. But I run the help desk in our training sector for the university.
All right. And the title of our presentation is Improving Institutional Performances with Enhanced Second-Tier Services. I know it's a long title, but it's actually a very direct approach on how we develop what is known at our campus as the Technical Response Unit, also known as TRU, or the TRUE program. Now, before we get into the details as far as describing the strategies and the phases that make up the TRU program, let me set the stage for you as far as the who, what's, whens, and why we wanted to pursue this program. Valdosta State University is home to approximately 11,500 students, and that includes the undergraduate and graduate as well. And we have a total of 3,500 machines. We're primarily a Hewlett-Packard campus as far as our desktops and laptops and printers are concerned. And also for the students, we have roughly 2,000 plus machines located within 90 labs and 235 smart classrooms. Within those 235 smart classrooms, we are a primary user of the Crestron hardware system, and we've been using their products since 2008, and it's been working pretty good. So, what led up to TRU? Well, if you think about it, technology is ubiquitous. It's saturated in everything that we do, whether you're working in higher education, the hospital, bank, even when you go to the bathroom, something is related or controlled by a computer. So therefore, the issue is not necessarily acquiring that technology, because if you have the money, you can purchase it whenever you want to. However, the issue is making sure that you have technology that works, and also making sure that you have a support team that is dedicated to providing a fast response time. And this is what this program is going to be about, how everyone is under the pressure of having to do more with less, as far as less resources and, of course, less money. So we'll take you into a more detailed description of how we took our existing resources, how we actually achieved cost savings in order to reach a 15-minute response time for all technical needs across the campus.
To understand kind of the landscape of where we started and where we're at now, in 2012, we were looking at managing a total of 1,600 computers with only 3 full-time employees. Now, there were some student assistants that were set up as lab assistants, so basically that each lab had 1 lab assistant, and the problem there is they had very limited duties. Primarily, it was loss prevention. So in 2013, we decided to try to better leverage these lab assistants. And some of the keys to the success of that was being able to provide them with hybrid training. We did some hands-on, some job shadowing, some online through our LMS, as well as ensuring that they had the right resources to be able to be successful. We tried to keep all of our lab assistants together as a single team, rather than this person handles this lab, this person handles this lab, and there's rarely, if any, interaction. But we really thought that the idea of putting together a team dedicated towards a single cause would be able to help us keep everyone motivated. And one of the keys here was that we've never actually, prior to this, evaluated the quality of the labs to be able to say, okay, is it up to our standards or not? So we tried a pilot in our library in our business school, and overall we saw a quality increase. In some of the labs in the business school, we actually had a very rigorous lab maintenance program already, so there wasn't as much of a change there. However, overall within the 6-month pilot, we were able to actually address an increase of 256% of issues before the users needed the technology. In other words, we were able to test and take care of a projector before a class started. We were able to take care of computer labs before they opened, when students would start using them. And it was recognized at multiple conferences and publications. So building on the success of that program, we decided to move into a new initiative last year, which was the Technical Response Unit. It was a natural evolution of what we were doing already, but we had the aim of trying to further increase that preemptive support, but the key here was trying to establish a 15-minute response time whenever a technical issue was reported with the campus equipment. Overall, this would enhance the customer service levels. A lot of the times, it's not necessarily that somebody is able to resolve the issue in 15 minutes, but someone shows up, shows understanding, is willing to help, and starts the process off. So finally, we wanted to be able to identify the departmental needs a little better, since the math program versus the College of Education versus the business school all have different software needs. And because of this, it was key to be able to isolate which ones are specific to each to be able to ensure that we're supporting it correctly. And our aim was to do all of this at a cost savings to the university. To do so, there were a number of key strategies to be able to make this phase successful, and Sterling's going to speak a little more on those.
All right, so we definitely took a strategic approach in terms of implementing TRU. We definitely didn't just get a whip, crack the whip and say get to work. There was definitely a lot more involved. In terms of, we first identified the challenges in terms of management. How would we be able to manage a team and also provide resources for that team so that they can obtain the 15-minute response time for the service needs? And then two, training and support. How will we be able to properly train? Again, the existing resources that we had on campus were the lab monitors. At Valdosta State University and also other institutions, when you think about the typical lab monitor, what are their job duties? They watch the lab, watch the people that come to the lab, and quite frankly, they're being paid student technology fees and taxpayer dollars to do their homework for several periods of time. So therefore, based off the TLC program, we decided to empower these students and actually transition them from just being lab monitors to being full-fledged IT technicians. So we went through the strategies. We first took on the approach of going to our Odom library, in which they have the largest pool of student lab monitors, roughly 10 to 15 to be exact. And we talked with their administrators, let them know about the goals of the program and how it will be very beneficial not only for the Odom library but the institution overall. And then two, leadership. We're already stretched thin within our IT department in terms of trying to find time to support the technology needs of the campus and also make time for innovative opportunities as well. So therefore, we recently hired Quincy Thomas. He's our TRU coordinator at Valdosta State University, and he was a great addition to the team in order to spearhead the TRU program. And then also, two, motivation. Working in the IT department is great, and based off the message that the president of the Southern New Hampshire University speaker had mentioned yesterday, which was a great keynote, by the way, he mentioned that their university is working on making their college students work ready. And that's what our IT department is striving to do. We're trying to make sure that our student employees are work ready going into a world and a career environment that is highly focused on technology, that is constantly growing as a priority. And then two, hybrid training. When you think about the typical IT person, they are technically stuck in their silos. It's almost as if trying to take a sobriety test and they definitely don't want to step outside the lines of their own responsibilities. However, within our IT department, we train our students to not only be equipped in working at desktop, but also classroom and also supporting network services as well. So rather than receiving a phone call, hey, I'm having an issue with the projector, oh, I'm sorry, I can't take care of that. We now have students and technicians that are able to take care of different technology needs. And then also, too, the end user surveys. We definitely have to make sure that we take in consideration the feedback of how we're providing services for the institution and the campus. So the preemptive support, believe it or not, something as simple as developing a checklist and taking on a proactive approach of going into the classroom and labs, making sure that the computer turns on, making sure that paper is in the projector, making sure that the internet works, making sure that the sounds work. Simple things that are taken for granted, but if you apply a strategic approach and make sure that your team is proactively doing it on a regular basis, the results are great. I'm also fourth year adjunct instructor for the Math CS department, and I understand the feeling of the professor to go into a classroom. You already got your lesson plan made out for the entire semester. You power on the projector, and it doesn't come on. The projector is blown. Therefore, you've led up to losing up to 20 minutes worth of classroom time. You're embarrassed. The students are frustrated. They're ready to leave. You're calling IT. They're not responding. So we've definitely taken on a preemptive support in order to avoid those issues. And then, two, here's where the cost savings come in. With the Pelco Endurance camera, by removing the lab monitors from the labs, you typically have 3 to 4 lab monitors for a one-day shift for one lab. Therefore, each lab monitor is paid roughly $14,000 a year. So if you take out the lab monitors and replace them with one installation of a security camera, $1,700, which also requires only a $200 annual maintenance fee, the cost savings speak for itself. And then also we have a fleet managed of printers using our Xerox Web Center, in which we have a print anywhere solution on our campus, and it's been very effective. And then two, we've seen a reduction in the work orders. By using the TRU team, they're able to go by the classroom labs and also stop by the faculty and staff offices, stop in, hey, good morning. And it's a Southern hospitality we have in Georgia. Good morning, how's your day? Is there anything we can take care of as far as your technology needs? And by taking care of small work orders such as replacing the keyboard, installing a printer driver, it frees up the other technical support services team to take on more massive projects such as installing and imaging an entire lab. And then two, some of the rapid response techniques have been the use of the bomb guard button and remote support. What's great about bomb guard is that it allows for cross-platform remote technology. I can use my iPhone in order to remote into the president's Windows machine, of course with his permission, in order to take care of installing a printer driver. And then two, the Motorola XPR 750 radios. These radios are great. In the past, we've already tried working with iPads, but you didn't have wireless signal everywhere. We've tried the netbooks and also having the students communicate with us with their cell phones. But we didn't want to have them liable as far as taking care of the bill, because let's face it, as a college student, they already have too many bills already. So with the use of these radios, you have a 40-mile radius in which you have crystal clear communication regardless of being in the cement walls or elevators. And then also bridging the tiers. As I mentioned before, typically the IT department is usually working their own silos. Myself and Ben, we've established a relationship in which we're communicating with one another, and it's resulted in faster communication and faster response time.
One thing I'd like to make note of on the BombGuard system as well is that whenever people are doing remote support, it's actually recording the session. So it's a great tool for training as well. So we're able to take those videos to pass on to new employees to be able to get them trained to do the same thing. And we also utilize the Cisco Contact Center. We're moving on to Cisco Finesse pretty soon. Basically, this allows us to be able to do things like skills-based routing to ensure that the agent that the person is speaking with has background into the type of issue that they need. And in addition to this, how many of y'all are in higher ed out there? How many of y'all in higher ed would say that the start of a semester is not your craziest time? Okay, yeah, same here. So what happens is to be able to keep the call queue low, we can actually dynamically add agents into that queue as needed during those peak times. So as Sterling was mentioning on bridging the tiers, this is kind of an idea, the concept that we looked at for the involvement of the technical response unit there in the center, that initial points of contact would now not only be our help desk via phone, email, help form, etc., but also there's a BombGuard button that we're deploying to the lab desktops where somebody can double-click the button to request help. That puts them into chat with one of the technical response unit technicians. They can either from there remote in or use those Motorola radios to be able to radio for somebody on site to be able to assist. And we're looking at moving that to the faculty staff offices pretty soon as well. In addition to that, the technical response unit would also work closely with our second tier, our on-site support. Basically, if the technical response unit could resolve something within a short period of time, they would do so. Otherwise, they would move on and escalate that to our technical support services folks who would be more involved there.
And then also, in terms of identifying the needs of the various colleges, the College of Arts have different technology needs compared to the College of Arts and Sciences, where you have the Math CS department that uses AutoCAD or MathLab or other specified applications on a regular basis. Therefore, we've identified IT administrators such as myself and Ben to go to the various colleges and actually participate in their college technology committee meetings, because that also avoids cost savings by making sure that they're aware of what our IT services actually offer. I'm pretty sure, are there any other IT staff members in here? Okay, so you understand what it's like to have a department constantly wasting money on products that we already have on campus. You'll be amazed how communication, just simply let them know we already have a campus site license for Adobe CS. You do not have to do a personal purchase of this software, and that frees up so much money to go towards other technology needs for the faculty, staff, and students. And here is a map of the description of how we provide support for our campus. And just to give you a brief description, our campus has the main campus in the center, and then 2 miles north we have North Campus, and then 2 miles south we have our South Campus. And we have 7 different substations. Each substation for the TRU support has roughly 3 to 5 students, and we provide them with basic hardware such as extra monitors, keyboards, items and hardware that goes out on a regular basis. And at the time that the client calls the help desk or the TRU center, or put in a request through the BombGuard remote support, and once that work order is entered, the clock starts, in which our team has a 15-minute response time to get to respond and arrive on site. Now, once on site, unfortunately, we're not able to wave a magic wand and automatically fix it like some faculty and staff expect us to do. However, just being in the presence of that client, letting them know, okay, we're here, we are willing to do whatever we can to resolve your issue. If we're not able to resolve your issue, then we'll escalate the work order to someone that can. It makes a huge difference in the negative reputation that most IT departments receive, because people call us only when things aren't working. But I know sometimes we'll wish that someone would call us and say, hey, we appreciate the wireless for working. Thank you very much. That'll be great. That'll be music to our ears. But again, this is just a description of the map.
Likewise, I probably couldn't keep a job as an infographic designer, so just a brief explanation is those red pinpoints are the actual buildings where the offices are located. The yellow areas represent the coverage area. Sterling had a good example. It's sort of like how pizza delivery folks will layer shops, so that way whoever's closest will be able to get to it and take care of it. There's a little bit of overlap there, as you can see. The idea is that sometimes there are increase in needs for a certain department versus another department, and we should be able to dynamically adjust to be able to cover ourselves. And so basically when we started the process last summer, Sterling and I sat down, and I think one of the keys was to design what our objective was, what type of goals we had with this program. And because of the fact that there were a lot of overlaps between that and our prior TLC maintenance program, we were able to actually take a lot of the content from the existing LMS course and just migrate it over. But we also had to acquire some of the funding for the equipment. We also had to put together job descriptions, etc. Some of the training components we were looking at is being able to make sure we had a clear workflow and clear reporting structure, as well as a clear idea of what each responder would be both responsible for and had access to. So, as mentioned, there's a number of ways that we work with our technicians to be able to prepare them for this position, and that includes online content through our LMS, hands-on practice. So we would actually bring folks to the printer and have them troubleshoot, have them reload toner, paper, etc. And likewise also shadowing more experienced technicians. So when we got to fall of last year, we started working with the individual departments as we would be pulling the lab assistants out of those areas to be able to join the TRU program. So we also had to establish offices in those locations where the little pinpoints were, so that's the way we could have people deploy from there. And likewise, we had our TRU coordinator hired at that time. So here, this is kind of the way to look at this one. Like I said, I can't keep a job as an infographic designer, of course, but the idea is on the bottom half there, those are the buildings in the blocks. Those are the actual offices where the TRU folks are. But the bullet points represent the buildings that they're responsible for covering. Those numbers, the number of buildings may not look even, but we based it on the actual work order traffic from those particular areas to be able to design that split. Finally, in spring, so just a little bit ago, we started our first pilot. The intention is a 6-month pilot to be able to evaluate the program. Not only evaluate the program, but also evaluate the training to be able to improve on that. And likewise, what happens is we took some of the ideas from TLC, like the motivation of employees, and Sterling can talk a little about his Super Tech program that he uses.
So I've had the luxury of being a faculty, staff, and student at my alma mater, Valdosta State University, and also a former athlete as well, in which competition and always striving to be number one, apply teamwork. That's very important. And I kind of took that a little bit too far. I recently had knee surgery about 2 months ago, tore my ACL and MCL, and I've learned a valuable lesson. You cannot play semi-pro football at the age of 32. So life lesson learned right there. But basically, I know what it's like to for a student technician to come in, punch the clock, take care of work orders, might get hassled by a staff member or two, and they don't really have a sense of what they're contributing towards. So therefore, with the TSS Super Tech Award, I've myself, along with my 9 other full-time staff members, we've identified a way of identifying those students that go above and beyond in the areas of reliability, professionalism, quality of work, and also cooperation and initiative as well. And based on the highest ratings, those students are recognized with an award, and I do this award every 2 months because I pay each student, and we have 5 nominees, $25 out of my pocket, and I don't have the expenses to take care of them every month. So I decided to make it 2 months to help myself out and the college student. So again, the results have been tremendous. We recently had several of the students use the TSS Super Tech Award and apply that. I'm a 2-time award winner, 4-time award winner on their resume. I've had calls from major corporations, Career Builder, Monster.com, for some of them that want to become programmers, HP, Dell, and they've called to do just recommendation questionnaires regarding that particular student. And also the students have actually reached back to Valdosta State, to our IT department. Hey, Sterling, you guys were great to us. Are there any upcoming students that are about to graduate that'll be recommended for the jobs that we have available? So again, that was a great result and feedback that we received from the TRU program.
And what we did was, at the end of 3 months, due to the fact that we intended this to be a 6-month pilot, we did sort of like what we would call a midterm review type equivalent there. So at 3 months, at the end of spring, we did this initial evaluation. We're about to do a final evaluation at the end. But we actually increased from 256% to 503%. In terms of numbers, this is just over 1,600 issues that are taken care of before the student or faculty actually needs to utilize the technology. So it's a significant number. And likewise, the response has been good so far. 96% fell within the 15-minute response time that we were aiming for. In terms of the cost savings, I mark this as possible cost savings because of the fact that as we pulled the lab assistants in, even though we didn't necessarily need those numbers still, that we didn't let anyone go. We didn't want to be the folks that said, welcome to IT, you're all fired. So basically what we did was we brought in the lab assistants, and as they leave due to attrition from graduation, et cetera, then we can pull back the funding from that. So potentially at the end of the 3 months, were we to have cut those positions, we would have saved $26,000 so far. Likewise, at the end of the summer, we had 6 graduates, so thus we are starting to see those savings at this point. So what's next? Well, we're looking at some expansions moving on to the future of this program, and one of which
We plan on developing the 24/7 help desk. In order to do that, again, with our existing resources and no additional financial help, we're working with we have a 24-hour lab in the Odom Library, and it's been in existence for roughly 6 to 7 years. And the student lab monitor that's there, again, they're watching the students, and that's it. We've actually had their supervisors report to us. They've come in 2 or 3 o'clock in the morning, and obviously the student wasn't there. They live right next door. They're check in, go back, go to sleep, and check out. Just a lot of dishonesty going on in terms of working on campus. So we're going to work with them in order to train that student with the skills to respond to online phone calls as far as receiving help with our LMS known as BlazeView. And for instance, let's say a student is working with an online test, they're going to need a password reset, and it's an inconvenience for them to have to wait until the morning time in order to receive that additional help. So that's how we'll be establishing the 24/7 help desk. And we've also planned on expanding our student wireless support. We're transitioning in higher education to where the strength of your wireless determines your enrollment. If you have a great wireless environment, the more students that you'll have. And also, too, you'll have happy faculty, staff members as well. We've just invested in a $2.2 million Cisco wireless upgrade, in which we've transitioned from having roughly 200 to 300 access points on our campus to approximately 700 to 800 access points. We plan on outfitting access points within each of our dorm rooms and also within more of the academic spaces, which will lead to better classroom interactive technology and also support the next project of bring your own device on campus as well. And let's face it, we have to make sure that our students are entertained. They got to have their Netflix and other programs that they really shouldn't be watching. And so TRU will be providing evening support. Let's say if they have an issue with their gaming console, PlayStation 4, Nintendo Wii, or what have you, we'll actually dispatch the technician to meet that student in their lobby, and we'll troubleshoot and get them configured onto the wireless network. So again, we have some very exciting programs in store as we move through.
Likewise, when we look at the campus equipment, especially in computer labs, a lot of the times when a student runs into an issue with a campus computer, they don't report it. They just move over one computer and continue on from there. And likewise, in terms of our enterprise systems, so for example, there may be folks who are having difficulty connecting to the wireless, but rather than contacting us to troubleshoot, they simply post it on Facebook, the wireless is horrible, etc., or Twitter. And so what we're moving into is that age of social media and social relationship management. So the idea of using Oracle SRM and Hootsuite to be able to kind of listen for those type of issues and to try to reach back out to those clients to try to direct them properly to be able to actually get some help. So that's one of our next phases in TRU. So overall, this is sort of a summary of kind of where we were in 2013 and where we are since 2014. So,
and some of the highlights that we've experienced within the summary is the transition from only just help desk and lab assistants, but now you have a larger staff involved. We're utilizing the remote services of BombGuard to serve as a communication method between ourselves and the clients as well. And the scope has gone not only from classroom and labs to also making sure that our faculty and staff technology is taken care of from a proactive approach. And two, internal communications. As I mentioned, the Motorola radios are great. I actually forgot to tell you how they also come with an earpiece. So whenever we're supporting graduations or other special events, some people call us the FBI of IT, which is pretty cool. And also the different support types. And we've also increased our staffing based on existing staffing and existing budget pools that you have on campus as well. And then too, of course, with the addition of the TRU coordinator management, we've been able to successfully train and manage those students. So with that in closing, as you see our awesome, handsome faces, that's the graphic designer that decided to expand the pictures. Again, we're open for questions. We hope that you enjoyed the program. So are there any questions from anybody? Um,
Land
land
desk.
desk management.
Or land desk service desk.
Yeah.
Land desk service desk?
Yeah, and it's being it's a primary requirement. We have about 31 for. Is there anybody from Georgia here? Anybody? Oh wow. Okay, great. It was a culture shock for me when I went to lunch and there was no sweet tea. That's like a southern luxury in the South. But back to what I was saying, we have roughly 31 institutions within the University System of Georgia, and a majority of them are moving towards using the land desk service management system as far as providing management for the devices and Active Directory and other components within IT.
One of the key reasons for the land desk service desk is because of integration with another product of those of them called Land Desk Management Suite. The idea is that you can have a service catalog displayed in your web interface for the end user where they can pick, for example, okay, I need Adobe CS6 installed, then they can choose to request it. Since we have a site license already, it just submits a ticket into the service desk system. The system will automatically push that out to their computer. They'll get prompted, then it automatically closes the ticket with no human interaction.
And it also includes license management for our 500 different software applications that we have on campus as well. Any other questions? Yeah, yes, sir. BombGuard serves as our remote support service. It establishes a jump agent in which we're able to remote into any computer on our campus and also off campus as well. And it also adds recording services as well. So as we're doing troubleshooting and interacting with the client, it actually records that transaction.
Does it work with Microsoft, with the Active Directory?
Yes, yes it does. Mm-hmm. Yes.
In BombGuard, since we have different roles set for different users, what we can do is we can, as a technician, remote in, and the user is still logged in because they've invited us into the session. However, we can escalate our rights to the technician level to be able to perform software installs and advanced troubleshooting.
What are you used, I have two questions. What are you used for patch management, and how many entities do we have overall, not only on the
The land desk service management, and also we have roughly, I'd say 60 to 65 full-time staff employees that work with our IT department.
And how about the college?
For the whole college, 488 faculty members, roughly, and it's an estimate between 300 to 400 staff members in the administrative offices. And we're a Division II school.
With the BombGuard, you let the student workers use the BombGuard as well? Or do you
Yes. We do because of the fact that, as mentioned, it's a recorded session. So if there's a quality issue, we can always follow up to be able to perform coaching, to be able to likewise, if needed, revert the steps that they took, stuff like that. So, yeah, I mean, we try to empower them with a lot of the same access and a lot of the same type of responsibilities as our staff, because considering the fact that, for example, at our help desk, we have 2 total staff members there, right? But we have 8 student assistants, you know, so it's really a very student technician focused division overall.
Yes, I seen this hand up first. I apologize. Oh, I'm sorry, sir. He had his hand up. Don't shoot the messenger. It's all right. Yes, sir. You, sir. Yes.
Sorry, how does that replace COM and SCCM for Microsoft? Now that we're at BombGuard, if you have BombGuard, you can avoid all the Microsoft tools that are available with Active Directory, control and support and all that.
The BombGuard system isn't necessarily a replacement for LDMS or SCCM because of the fact that it won't do automated patching. You can write scripts for it, but that means having somebody to learn another scripting system to be able to push patches across it. What we do is we have certain packages that we've scripted to be able to allow a technician with a click to be able to push out. But overall general patch management and licensing we handle still through LDMS, the Land Desk Management Suite.
Yes, sir.
do you use students as managers as well?
what we do is, as mentioned, we do count on them a lot. We actually, for example, at our help desk, out of those student assistants, those 8 student assistants that we were mentioning, you know, that we actually have teams even within that. And then there's an actual student team leader at that level. Likewise, as we move to this model with technical response unit, 7 different branches, but 1 staff member over all of it, right? That would really need student leaders in the sub-branches to be able to continue that process, you know?
How do you develop that? Or is it more of a schedule-based? I'm very informed by the help desk at my college. One of the challenges is the schedule, and perhaps the people that are scheduled at the same time may not have a material leader or, you know.
Right.
I'm just wondering, like, are you guys welcoming in any have a lot that are great leaders for the staff, you know, for the development program?
And I'll give the short answer, but I'd be happy to stay after to be able to discuss further in depth on our programs. But the idea is that we try to pick based on interest because of the fact that some folks, based on their major, are interested in different things. Now, regardless of the major, because we have everything from computer science, English, religious studies, education, but picking projects for them to lead that fall within their interest and are something that later on they can use to be able to act as evidence for their skills. So building a portfolio of artifacts that would be able to help them go into the workforce and find employment later is really good motivation for that team leader. But the team leaders are more of a project-based team lead than an overall.
Yeah, it's really an internal policy of applying that leadership. Really we don't have an increased incentive as far as the difference between a student assistant and a lead technician, things of that nature. And also, too, our hiring process has attracted the most desirable students for our IT department in terms of we actually reached out to our orientation team for our university. You have someone, you know, do orientation. And when you think of those orientation leaders, they're very excited and upbeat and things of that nature for the university. And so therefore, we actually reached out to their department, looked at their interview, and noticed that they have questions that engage and identify the personality. So by working with the orientation department, we've actually been able to hire student technicians that have those motivative and upbeat personalities.
You had a question?
I think kudos. This is a great system to do.
Thank you.
Try to do some more things. And I just question your cost savings when you equate it to possible student positions that you could have eliminated. And that maybe a better way to think about that is the full-time staff positions that you haven't had to hire for.
Oh,
So
I see.
really
Yeah.
students
That makes sense.
upping their skills has really probably extended the ability of your full-time staff, and you probably not filled those positions. So when I ran into that on campus, we had, we need more student jobs. So we didn't want to get rid of the student jobs, but we wanted to make them much more viable and real than just
Yeah.
getting them to stay. But I'd say find some ways to talk about that in your ROI. So
Okay,
it's
yeah.
not just that we could cut.
Right, yeah, that we could do.
money. It's a better proposition, I think, to
Say how many
sell the program.
FTEs it
Great
creates.
program.
Thank
No,
you.
that's awesome advice. We'll definitely incorporate that. Thank you.
So we probably have time for one more question if anyone has one. Otherwise, we'll probably end here. If anyone wants to go into anything detailed. Oh, okay. Go for it.
What about the cameras in the labs? Isn't this improving the privacy of students? And how the student affairs agree to that?
I don't have the technical legalities. We actually have a chief security officer that's actually explored privacy, and he also manages our entire security system as well, and working with the police department as well. So I really can't speak on behalf of the privacy, but I could definitely look up that information and get it back to you as soon as possible. I apologize for that.
So the camera, what does the camera do? Is that watching what the student support are doing?
Yes.
It's watching the equipment, actually. For example, we have a copier room with 3 copiers, and it's facing the copier. So if somebody walks away from the copier without an actual piece of paper copied, then we know something is wrong with it and then deploy somebody.
And then, too, I understand what you're saying now. Actually, all staff employees, they are aware that all technology belongs to the state. So technically, nothing is completely private. After a staff member leaves, they do have as a state entity, we do have rights to the data on that computer. Mm-hmm.
Just a clarifying question, do you monitor that camera system surveillance, or is that your security department that's monitoring?
We have security department, and also we have various staff members within the TRU program that monitor. Yes.
Did you already have cameras elsewhere on campus?
Yes, we already had cameras in different areas on campus as well. We've just now started exploring installing the cameras in the lab.
This is nothing new to this student.
Oh yeah, nothing new. Right. In the back.
When you're using your remote software,
Mm-hmm.
you say that that's recorded. Does someone monitor that the way that you're talking about monitoring just the regular what's going on with the technology?
It saves.
Really only look at it if an issue arises.
Well, it depends on the case, because what happens is when it records to the server, and then a supervisor for that team would be able to log in to view any of the recordings. And what happens is you can go back, look at one if a situation did arise, but at the same time you can be looking proactively for some that focus on specific issues that you're trying to train your technicians on.
No, I know that you could.
Yeah.
That's
Oh.
whether there's time, in the day, whether
Yeah.
it's
Yeah.
whether it's none of their responsibility, or whether
The-
we've got it in our back pocket because we ever need to
The-
forensically go into.
I think it depends on which perspective you're looking at it from. For example, we have student teams that are developing online training, such as the LMS content for us, And what we can do is we can grant them limited access to be able to go in and review some videos to find something that's related to what they're trying to train on. So as part of their project, that would be already scripted into the scope at the time. And on the other hand, if a situation did arise where somebody called the supervisor and say, hey, somebody remoted in and blank happened, then the supervisor at that time could try to match the timestamp and decide, okay, this was right or wrong, et cetera, Cool. Well, I think we are unfortunately out of time here. I don't want to hold you all up for the next session, but if anyone would like to stick around and talk in more detail, we'd be happy to stick around for you.
All right, thank you for coming.
Thank you all for coming. You all have a great rest of the conference.